money makers, welcome back to another episode of Taking Stock Live. I'm your host, Kalilah Reynolds. It is my pleasure to be here with you once again. We have another exciting show lined up for you after the big scoop that we broke right here on Taking Stock 2 weeks ago. So Scoops Unlimited is serving up a sweet treat. The beloved flavors of Devon House Ice Cream are hitting retail shelves near you very, very soon. And we got the whole internet abuzz about this whole thing a couple weeks ago. And so we're going to be finding out a little bit more about that later on in the show. But first, let me know in the comments, let me know in the chat where you are joining us from. What part of Jamaica, what part of the world? I love to see our viewers from all over tuning in and contributing in the chat. Now, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so just yet, and of course, subscribe to the newsletter at KalilahReynolds.com/newsletter. Up next, we've got your market recap, what's hot in business, and a look at what's coming up in tonight's show. And of course, come on, let's get this money.
On this episode of Taking Stock, Scoops Unlimited serves up the ultimate treat, the convenience of Devon House Ice Cream in supermarkets. Director of Devon House Ice Cream, Dr. Matthew Clarke, joins us live to discuss how this expansion will unfold. And the analyst weighs in on the latest market developments, Caribbean Producers' third quarter ending March financial performance. But first, here's What's Hot, brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart. The Statistical Institute of Jamaica says the country spent less on imports for the first in 3 years in 2023. According to Statin, Jamaica's total spending on imports for January to December 2023 was valued at $7.5 million. That is almost 2% less than the $7.7 million spent in 2022. The agency said the decrease was largely impacted by lower spending on imports of raw materials or intermediate goods and fuels and lubricants. At the same time, revenues from exports for 2023 increased by 5%. Jamaica's main trading partners for 2023 were the US, China, Brazil, Japan, and Colombia. American Airlines says it will increase its flights into Ian Fleming International Airport in St. Mary to daily service starting December 5. The airline said the move is part of a service expansion among its most popular routes. American Airlines started flying to Ian Fleming International Airport earlier this year on Wednesdays and Saturdays. They have also expanded service to various airports in Mexico, Antigua, Dominican Republic, and the Bahamas. Additionally, the airline said it will add 8 new routes to Latin America and the Caribbean. Energy company Petronas says its team in Suriname has made a third hydrocarbon discovery offshore of the country. Petronas began drilling in the area in February and has encountered several oil and gas reservoirs. The area where the discovery was made is just off the coast of Suriname's capital and falls within the Suriname-Guyana basin. The company said further evaluation is being undertaken to determine the full extent of this discovery. Petronas Suriname E&P operates in the area where the discovery was made in a 50-50 partnership with ExxonMobil Corporation. U.S. President Joe Biden last week increased taxes on an array of Chinese imports. More than $18 billion worth of imports, including electric vehicle batteries, computer chips, and medical products, have reportedly been taxed. Taxes on EVs have quadrupled to over 100%, up from 27.5%, and doubled the duties on semiconductor tariffs to 50%. Solar components will attract a tariff of 50%, while all other sectors will pay tariffs of 25%. The tariffs will be rolled out over the next 2 years. China immediately vowed to retaliate and said it will take measures to defend its interests. What's Hot was brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
I'm Kalilah Reynolds, the Money General, and I'm on a mission to help you get better with money. Join me inside the Money Mission community where I'll teach you how to manage money, make more money, and annihilate bad debt. Click the link in the description to sign up for your basic or premium membership. Let's get this money. Welcome back. Let's see who we have joining us tonight and where you guys are from. Starting with Dwight Jackson from Spanish Town in the house. We got Strong Link at Waterworks. Antoinette in Arizona says the heat is on. It is on here in Kingston too. Jeez. Whew, it is hot. Nana sends observing from far, far away. We got Uriel in New York. We got Russell in Trinidad and Tobago. We got Otis checking in from Kingston. Iceberg checking in from Kingston. Ooh, I like that name right now because the heat. Elaine is between Jamaica and Britain. Are you in the sky, Elaine? Richard joining from St. James. We got X-Ray Designs in Panda People and Walk in Atlanta. Records in Goshen, St. Elizabeth. Finessing Finance says greetings, massive. Mobe in the building. And Stronglink wanting to know what's going on with the oil search in Jamaica. Good question, Stronglink. I have no idea. I don't really have any updates on that at the moment. But what we do have an update on is some ice cream, because a couple weeks ago, we broke the news right here on Taking Stock that Devon House Ice Cream would be hitting store shelves soon. And that got you and the whole internet buzzing with excitement. Tonight, we're thrilled to provide you with further insights on this story from a director of Devon House Ice Cream, Dr. Matthew Clarke. Hi, Matthew.
Hi, Kalilah. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Excellent. I must say I'm a big fan of the show, and I'm a great admirer of what you're doing in this new digital media space. So I appreciate the invitation, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much. All right, so tell us about your involvement with Devon House Ice Cream. You're a director, but how did you get involved with the company?
Well, I mean, Scoops Unlimited is a family company. It was originated 35 years ago by my mom, Clarke Webster. So she's the matriarch of the company. And both myself and my brother have been involved at certain points. And at the current time, I'm actively participating as a director.
So is this the only product that Scoops Unlimited creates?
Yes, Scoops Unlimited exclusively makes Devon House Ice Cream, and that's basically the entirety of what we produce at this point.
Oh, see, I didn't know. I'm too young. I've lived in Jamaica 16 years now. And so I always thought that Devon House Ice Cream was just at Devon House from time was time, from whenever they converted the facility into like a tourist attraction. So it's been there for about 35 years now. You guys have gained an amazing reputation. Tell us what it's been like maintaining this family business for 35 years.
Well, you know, it's a labor of love. It's something that has been a family business for this period of time. You know, it's something that we take a lot of pride in. You know, I think people really comment on the quality of the ice cream, and that's something that has. You know, if you'd have noticed, in the big early years of Devon House Ice Cream, it was at one single location. And you know, in the early parts, we weren't so concerned with expansion or rapid growth. It was really about perfecting the ice cream, getting the ice cream as high quality as good as possible, and that's what was done in the initial, I would say, 10 years of the company in one location. Of course, we were at an excellent location, Devon House grounds. I think it's the best location to have ice cream in Jamaica for sure, maybe even the Caribbean. And since then we've sort of maintained our principles of the company is to have high quality ice cream with Caribbean specific flavors, and I think we've managed to maintain that for 35 years up and coming to today.
Yeah, absolutely. The first time I tasted it, I was like, okay, this is world class ice cream.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely world-class product. As a matter of fact, you even got a distinction. I think it was National Geographic naming Devon House like one of the top places in the world to have ice cream. And so
yeah, we were ranked number 4.
Number 4. And so after 10 years in the business, you guys decided that you're going to start branching out. Tell me about that expansion.
Right. So in the last, I would say, it's really happened more in the last 10 to 15 years. We've sort of expanded our growth outside of just Devon House grounds. We initially started in opening more Devon House branded stores. So we currently have 7 Devon House branded stores nationally. that we own and operate. And we're planning to open another very soon. So by midsummer, we should be at 8. We've also expanded the number of authorized resellers that we have throughout the country. So if you see in certain other places, even at a Devon House branded store, where you'll see a sticker that says Devon House Ice Cream sold here. Those are authorized resellers. I think we've also expanded in other locations. We sell to hotels. During the pandemic, we started doing the mobile van. And so, we're constantly trying to expand the reach of Devon House Ice Cream throughout the country. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of it.
So where's the 8th location going to be?
It's going to be in Spanish Town. It's going to be in the New Brunswick village. And so that should be opening hopefully around midsummer.
Lovely. Wonderful. Now, something was said during that interview with William Mafood that we do need to clarify. So there is a relationship between Scoops Unlimited and Creamy Ice Cream. Let me ask you to just clarify what that relationship is.
Sure. So, Scoops and Creamy, or Caribbean Cream Limited, are related companies. I know you've interviewed my brother in the past as regards to Creamy. And the story of Creamy is that my brother came back after schooling and was working at Scoops for a while, and he noticed an opportunity in the market for an economy brand ice cream. And so he then left Scoops and opened up his own company, which was Caribbean Cream Limited, and has built it to what it is today, including taking it public and everything else. So
that's your brother?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
Sorry
to cut you.
Right. So, that's the connection. You would notice that Scoops Unlimited is the largest shareholder in Creamy. Both myself and my mom are on Creamy's board. I'm current chairman. So there's that connection. And then we also have a shared services. I know you mentioned that in your prior piece. So we have a shared service division where we share certain divisions of the business, specifically HR, marketing, finance. Because the business flows are the business flow is essentially the same. So we do that as a way to lower expenses, a cost saving measure. But outside of that, from the production standpoint, the production is entirely separate. So Scoops has their own factory, and we manufacture Devon House Ice Cream, and Creamy has their own factory, and Caribbean Cream has their own factory, and they manufacture Creamy ice cream. So that's where the separation is.
So 2 completely different companies, but
yes,
basically the same family. So you're family related, but different businesses entirely.
Yes.
Just that you share some resources.
Exactly. It's more of a shared resources, yes.
Okay, understood. Thanks for clarifying that, Matthew.
No
so this brings us to the current date. I've always thought that Devon House is a brand that should be in stores, that should be exported globally because of the quality. And now you guys have taken that step. Why has it taken so long, and what brings you here now?
Well, like I said, I would say in the last 10 to 15 years, we have been rapidly expanding. So there are different avenues for expansion. Our main focus previously has been expanding the number of stores that we have. But the pandemic was a learning tool. It was a sharp reminder that expanding the number of stores and expanding other places, we did pivot into mobile vans. But there are other avenues that Devon House was not available. A common refrain that people would tell us is that whereas their preference is Devon House Ice Cream, and they love to go to Devon House Ice Cream shops and Devon House Ice Cream stores, but in their freezers at home, they would have a different brand, and it would mainly be out of convenience. You go to a supermarket and you take what's on the shelf, even if it's not your preferred brand, if it's not available. And so we wanted to change that. So coming out of the pandemic, where we learned that obviously we should have been in stores probably previously, but we were focused on other modes of growth. We began the planning to enter into supermarkets or the modern trade. And so we really took the last 2 to 3 years to really refine that plan and perfect it. And then things have finally come together. So we're happy to announce that we're going to be available in supermarket stores as early as later this week. And so, you know, we're excited about this new endeavor.
You know, I can't wait to see it on supermarket shelves. You can stock up for your parties and that sort of thing. But I was surprised when we posted that video, Matthew. There were a couple of people, well, not a couple, several people who did not like the idea of Devon House going to retail. So there was one group who was saying that the whole Devon House is a whole experience. Devon House Ice Cream is an experience that they think it will cheapen the brand to be in supermarkets because they want to stand in line for 2 hours to have that
Well, not
experience.
2 hours, but
Devon
yeah.
House Ice Cream. Well, I guess on like Mother's Day, because we put that out around Mother's
Yes,
Day when
that's
the
true.
line was very long. So they want to stand in line for a long time because it's part of the experience. What do you say to those people who say you're cheapening the brand by going retail?
I mean, I don't think we're cheapening the brand. I think it's a little bit harsh. For people who want to have the experience of going to a scoop shop or, you know, a scoop retail store, that experience is still there. Yeah, and there are many reasons to still be in the scoop shops. You know, for people that want to have the experience of your cones, your waffle cones, your sundaes, to have toppings, milkshakes. You know, all of those things are things you can get exclusively in the scoop shops, and so those things are still available. And there is still, you know, there is still the event idea of going to a scoop store or scoop outlet. You know, being able to take your kids out of the house. Even, you know, myself, I have two young children, and we have ice cream in the fridge all the time. But they constantly want to go out to the ice cream store, to the scoop shop to get their ice cream there. I don't think that's going to go away. I don't think that it cheapens the brand. As long as you keep the same high quality ice cream available, and there's no change in the quality. I think the brand will remain as strong as it has been.
Yeah, personally, I agree with you, Matthew. I don't think it cheapens the brand at all. If you look at, for example, a Haagen-Dazs, you
Exactly.
still get an in-store experience when you go to a Haagen-Dazs ice cream shop, but then when you buy it in the supermarket, it's still that premium ice cream product. And when I mentioned premium and we talk about quality, that was the second objection that I saw from people online saying, well, I hope the quality doesn't change. Are you able to maintain the quality that you get in the ice cream shop when you transfer it to a mass market produced product that needs to be on the shelves for a certain amount of time?
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, I was surprised and a little bit of that concern because from our standpoint, it's the same company that's bringing you the ice cream. It's the same exact formulation. So there'll be no difference in the formulation for the ice cream that you have in the supermarkets that you'll get in the scoop shops or retail stores. And so it's also something that we didn't, you know, come at overnight, right? A lot of people are saying we should have been in stores a long time ago, but we've taken our time with it. You know, we've done all our R&D and our you know, research, and we've really taken our time to try and perfect the product that we're going to have in supermarkets. So for those people who are doubters, I think they'll be pleasantly surprised. You know, the other thing is that, you know, not all flavors will be available in supermarkets initially. You know, we've narrowed down the number of flavors that will be initially available to 5. And, you know, the reason for doing that is sort of to limit the you know, sort of have more of a controlled rollout. We're focusing on these particular 5 flavors, and I think we've got these particular 5 flavors done right. And then once we have proof of concept and people, you know, don't have these fears, then maybe we'll expand to further flavors.
What are the 5 flavors?
So we're starting off with rum and raisin, Devon Stout, fruit and nut, coconut, and my personal favorite, which is grape nut.
No vanilla. I'm surprised.
Right. Well, you know, we wanted to start off with things that would differentiate us from other people that are already in those spaces. So if you're a fan of vanilla, and trust me, vanilla is coming soon. It actually has been one of the more highly requested flavors for supermarkets specifically, which is funny because it's not a very big seller in the scoop shops. But we wanted to be able to have flavors that would differentiate us from what you already had on your shelf, you know, that was already available to you. And, you know, the truth of the matter is that every ice cream company has vanilla, but not everyone has a grape nut. So that was the initial thought process. But those other flavors, another, you know, are coming soon.
Yeah, I think retail wise, vanilla is not, I think, I'm sure vanilla is like the number one selling flavor. Strong links and make sure chocolate. So it's probably vanilla followed by chocolate.
Right.
Um, the next thing that I want to address is the price point, because I imagine, and you can tell me how this is going to work, that getting ice cream at an ice cream shop comes at a premium because it is an experience. You have more overheads, so I imagine that it would be cheaper in the supermarkets, but you explain to me how that's going to work.
Right. So it's actually very similarly priced. If you compare
Mm.
quart to quart, which is our most even comparison, it would actually be slightly more expensive in supermarkets. And our thought process behind that was that you're paying for a little bit more for your ease of access. So we price ourselves at about almost exactly the same as you would pay for a quart in store, maybe slightly more, but then we're under the price points for, say, like a Haagen-Dazs. So I think if you want a premium ice cream with the ease of accessibility in the supermarkets, ours will be the most competitive option price wise. And then we don't want to drive people we don't want to drive people away from obtaining their quarts that they have in store, because we want to maintain that business as well. And there are some advantages of having getting your quarts in store. There's a variety of flavors. You can still get more than one flavor in one quart. These are things that will be accessible to you in the actual scoop shops as opposed to in supermarkets. But that's where we've chosen to price it.
So a lot of comments coming in already. People saying that they've already seen them on shelves. So Shorley says, "My friend bought one in the West today." I saw
Yeah, I think the
somebody else.
rollout has been this week.
Yeah, somebody else said they bought it at John R. Wong earlier this week as well, sometime this week. And opinions coming in on the flavors that you should have. So Shorley said, add coffee next. Here it is. Tika said, saw them in John R. Wong Supermarket, New Kingston on Saturday. NB Lee saying, Devon Stout, great. Earl calling for rum. And yes, you have rum and raisin that's already available. Natoya said, pistachio is a must. And Tika saying, the price wasn't bad, but I was hoping that pralines and cream or crunchy munchy would have been available. So lots of opinions. You guys are going to have
Right.
a hard time keeping that number of flavors low because there are many popular flavors out there.
Yeah, the plan is to expand, but we want to give us a little bit of a runway for right now to get all the kinks out of the system and sort of get a good flow going in terms of our distribution and everything else. And then new flavors will come for sure.
Okay, I'm just seeing our Instagram comments, by the way. Shout out to Carlene in Brompton, Canada, Phenomenal Phoenix Queen in Portland, Port Antonio, and Salisbury in St. Andrew. Somebody else on Instagram is asking if there's a crunchy munchy shortage. Is there?
There is, I wouldn't say it's a shortage. So for all my crunchy munchy warriors out there, this is the most requested, most common question I get online. Crunchy Munchy is coming back. It will be available sometime during the beginning of summer or hopefully beginning to midsummer. It's not seasonal, so people have access to that. We had an issue with one of our suppliers in terms of for one of the ingredients for Crunchy Munchy, so we had to switch suppliers. But now that has all been sorted, and Crunchy Munchy is coming back, so don't worry.
Okay. Let's talk about your export plans because I always saw this as a great road towards export. Devon House to me should be a global brand. So, what are the plans for export now that you have the packaging right and you possibly would have the capability to send it abroad?
Right. So, we're not totally focused on export at this point in time. The truth of the matter is that right now we're focused on this endeavor and getting the Devon House Ice Cream to as many places locally as we can. So we're focused specifically locally. Sorry. And any thoughts of expansion or export would be premature at this time. So I wouldn't want to comment on it.
Okay. What are the hurdles towards exporting? Is it that you have to have certain stamps from like, what is it, FDA, Food and Drug Administration? Like, what are the hurdles to that?
Right. So obviously to export, you'd have to have certain certifications from a manufacturing standpoint, but To be honest, it would be really premature to have any discussions about that right now. We're not really focused on that. We're currently focused on this current new endeavor that we have in supermarkets locally, and we want to get that correct first.
All right, let's take some of the comments because there are quite a few coming in. Kemoy wants to know, do you have any low sugar, non-dairy options?
We don't currently, but it is something we're also currently investigating as a part of our R&D process. We hope to have something like that for you relatively soon, but we don't have one currently available.
Christopher wants to know if you have a location in Portmore, and if not, do you have any plans for one?
We don't currently have a Devon House branded store location, so we don't operate one in Portmore, but we do have many authorized resellers there. So there is penetration to the that market, and hopefully get into markets. So there'll be another way to have penetration into to that market. But we currently don't have a store in Portmore, and we don't have plans to open up one soon. But if the opportunity comes up, we're more than happy to grab it.
Next question comes from Ryan. Well, you already answered this one, but he wanted to know, when are you going to target exports in a real way? Jamaicans in Florida would love to have Jamaican-made ice cream. Yeah, so you said not no, but any plans in the future, 5 years?
Well, we'll say never, but any talk about it now would be premature.
Okay. Elaine wants to know, are you planning to IPO like your brother's company?
The answer to that would be no. Well, we don't have any immediate plans for IPO. We have some experience from a family standpoint with the IPO process and with Creamy being a public company. But we're firm believers that if you go to the market, you should do it with a plan in mind or with a need. And as of right now, we've been able to fund most of our endeavors through more traditional means. So we don't have plans to do an IPO currently, but never say never.
Christopher says, I'm sure it's going to be a hit in the supermarkets. It's always good to see Jamaican products easily accessible. We have Lushan saying Devon House coming to the stores will cause, so he says the opposite, will cause a decrease in the excitement of the product and the brand. Christine says we have to cater for everyone. Persons that are far from Devon House will be able to enjoy a Devon House ice cream. We have Elaine says if the quality remains the same, the company and the brand will live on. Think about the big brands in the US and the rest of the world. Quality, quality, quality. And then Kemoy says, dance a yard before you dance abroad. So I guess Kemoy is thinking along the lines that you are, Matthew. All right. So anything else that you want to tell us about, your rollout, your expansion, and what's next for the company?
Sure. I mean, so we're like I said, we're going into supermarkets, and we should be in over, I believe, 100 locations by the end of the week. I think the demand for it has been high, and in terms of the places, apparently from the feedback we've been getting, it's not just the larger, supermarkets, larger locations. A lot of the small to medium outlets are also showing real demand, and the whole purpose of this rollout is that we want to have, when we've experienced or heard that feedback before, that Devon House ice cream is not readily available to everyone in Jamaica, especially in rural areas or the areas that we don't have our branded stores, we don't control. And so I think the great part of this endeavor is that we'll be able to get the Devon House ice cream to more people in Jamaica across the island. And we want to make it where at any point in anywhere across the island that somebody wants Devon House ice cream, they'll have access to it. And that's a lot of what this rollout into supermarkets and the modern retail trade is all about.
Any new flavors in the works?
No, we don't have any new flavors, but we're constantly innovating from a flavor standpoint. Over Easter, we had the bun and cheese flavor, which was a big hit. And so you can anticipate new flavors coming out. We try to do things for, seasonally. We don't currently have any new flavor. We had actually, we just did one for Mother's Day. So there was a flavor, specifically for Mother's Day. And so we're constantly coming up with new flavors, usually ones that are seasonal or, for different events or different times throughout the year. I don't know of any specifically current new flavors right now, but be on the lookout. We're always coming out with new things.
Nano Sense says, what about weed ice cream?
Yeah, again, that's not something we're planning on anytime soon.
Okay, and then Mike says, I agree to keep it Jamaican. It's the best ice cream in the world, and I mean it.
I
So
really appreciate that.
all the best with the rollout, Matthew. 100 stores on a launch is impressive, to say the least. And I can't wait to try out the new Devon House ice cream in supermarkets.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you much.
Thank you so much. Matthew Clarke, Director of Scoops Unlimited, the makers of Devon House Ice Cream. Check them out in a store near you starting this week if you live in Jamaica. And those of you abroad, sorry, you're going to have to wait a little bit, but eventually, I have no doubt it will get there. So time now for our poll question. What do you think about Devon House Ice Cream being offered in supermarkets? A, great. I'm excited. B, not a fan. It's going to cheapen the brand. C, I hope it doesn't affect the quality. D, other. Leave a comment. So you can take that poll here on the YouTube, on the community tab of my YouTube channel, or over on the app formerly known as Twitter, now known as X. What do you think about Devon House Ice Cream being offered in supermarkets? Take today's poll. Now, have you guys signed up for the Money Mission community just yet? If not, here is a look at what you're missing. So your book needs to go up on your website. You have a website, but do you have is it an e-commerce website? Can you accept payments on the website? So that's step one, getting it up on your website and getting a payment gateway for your website. So I'm even going to say that for this month, the homework is sales, figuring out how you're going to sell the book. Next month, after you figure out sales, we're going to figure out how to market it and bring people to your website and your platforms to buy the book. But you can't market without having an adequate way to sell the book. So that was a clip from the last Money Mentorship, which is the first Monday of every month inside the Money Mission community. And that person was coming up with a plan to market and sell their book. So they have an existing book and they want to add some more product lines to write a new book. How do we get these books to sell? And that's what we were discussing in the last session of Money Mentorship. The next one comes up the first Monday in June. So it's the first Monday of every month. Go to moneymissionja.com to sign up. Before I go to the break, comment from Instagram from Chuck Star, who says, I think Scoops is growing under stern leadership, detailed market research, and slowly expanding, slowly becoming $1 billion corporate brand. Awesome. I love to see it. Love to see the expansion, especially from locally grown, homegrown, bootstrapped companies. So guys, remember to hit that like button. Up next, we've got your market recap, and the analysts are standing by.
The JC Combined Index lost over 2,000 points last week. 123 stocks traded across the main and junior markets for the week ending Friday, May 17, 2024. 53 made gains, 57 lost value, and 13 stayed the same. 443 million shares changed hands on the Jamaican dollar market, valued at $1.9 billion. Trans-Jamaican was last week's most traded stock. It took up 40% of market volume with 179 million shares trading. The stock gained 12 cents to open the new week at $3.29. Fosrich traded the second highest. The stock gained 4 cents to open Monday at $2.19. And JMMB Group 7.25% VRJMD CR preference shares rounded out last week's most traded with 30 million shares changing hands. The stock lost 20 cents to open Monday at $1.80. Now let's see who had the biggest gains for the week. The Lab was the market's biggest gain, up 24% to start Monday at $1.58. Caribbean Cream was the week's second biggest gainer, up 15%, and Margaritaville Turks USD was also up 15% to close the week at 10 cents US. On the losing side now, AMG Packaging and Paper Company was the week's biggest loser. The stock lost 22% open Monday at $3.05. JMMB 7% VRJMD preference shares had the second biggest dip. The stock lost 16% to open the new week at $2.80. And Portland JSX lost 15% to close the week at $7.69. Over on the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange, the composite index lost 22 points last night, or almost 2%. Massey was the most traded stock. It lost 17 cents to open Monday at $4.04 TT. National Flour Mills was the biggest gain of the week. The stock was up 12% to start the week at $2.24 TT. And on the losing side, Guardian Media fell 10% to open Monday at $1.80 TT. Over in the US, the Dow Jones and S&P 500 were up about 1% last week, while the Nasdaq gained 2%. In foreign exchange, it took an average $157 Jamaican to purchase $1 last Friday. That's 23 cents less than the week before. Meanwhile, it took an average $115.58 Jamaican to purchase $1 Canadian. One British pound cost on average $199.35 Jamaican. And you could buy €1 for $171.84 Jamaican on average. Finally, on the crypto markets, Bitcoin prices were up 5% over the past 5 days, trading at $69,620 US on Monday. Ethereum prices, on the other hand, were up 13%, trading at $3,432 US on Monday.
Are you ready to step up social media marketing for your business? Get ready for the Summer Social Splash. Be one of the first 10 companies to sign up and get 60% off our influencer promotion package featuring yours truly. I'll come to your business and highlight your product or service to over 300,000 followers on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn, but only 10 spots are available and it's first come, first serve. So don't wait too long to book this special offer. It's 60% off for the summer. Contact business@moneymediaja.com or call 876-498-6490 today. Let's get this money. Welcome back. Welcome back. You caught me jamming to the Taking Stock music just now. Let's take a few more comments before we introduce our analyst for this evening. Christopher Shaw says, gosh, no more long lines for Devon House Ice Cream. Great. Well, hopefully. Earl says, if Scoops is the major shareholder in Creamy, why go public with Scoops? Two different companies. So the brother owns Creamy, and then Scoops is a completely different company. And they ask the brother why he went public with it. He's actually been on the show before. X-Ray Design says, oh, well, I guess I'll have a Devon House Ice Cream while I watch the market for other possibilities. So good for you, X-Ray. And then Nano Sense, showing why he has no sense, says Devon House Ice Cream, a hypocrite. They make and sell rum ice cream. However, shut down the idea of edible ice cream, KMT. Edible meaning the marijuana ice cream that you're talking about. Two completely different things. Remember, to do edibles, to do anything marijuana related is a whole legal process. You have to get permits and stuff from Cannabis Licensing Authority and all of that. So it is potato, bad example. No, apples and oranges. That's what I meant to say. Two completely different things, Nano Sense. So let me introduce our analyst for this evening. It's somebody we haven't had on in a while, but I'm happy to see. Leovani Dillon is Corporate Manager, Group Client Portfolio and Investment Strategies at JMMB. Welcome back, Leo.
Yeah, man. Good night. How you doing, Kalilah? Good night to you and the viewers.
Is that a new title?
Yes, it is.
Congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
Hey, Taking Stock alum doing big things.
Yeah.
I thought so. I can't notice that there are more words in this title this
time. Yeah. Didn't know it was possible, right? More words.
Of course I know it's possible, but because it's you. It's Leo.
Yes.
taking stock on a deal with bright people, you know.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good.
All right. So tonight you're
Yeah.
giving us an overview of CPJ, Caribbean Producers Jamaica Limited.
Yeah.
They recently released their performance for the 9 months ended March 31. What are the highlights, Leo?
All right. So I'm gonna share my screen for a moment because I'm gonna go back a bit and then go forward into the quarter. Um, yeah. So when you look on the numbers for, all right. So when you look on the numbers for the full year, what you're seeing. Hold on. This isn't showing. Hold on. All right. This isn't showing correctly. All right. All right. So all right. So when you look on the numbers, if you go back until to 2019, right, you'll see that the company had some challenges. Of course, going through COVID and all of that, so they had some losses, right? So you fast forward to 2023, June 2023, you're seeing that they've made a big turnaround. So they've gone up to a profit of about 6 million, 5.7 million US. Now, the thing about that is that 2023 number was actually impacted by a one-off expense of about 1.4 billion due to some tax implications, right? The company worked through that, and now that they've gone through that, if you fast forward now into the new financial year, so the 9M period, you're seeing where for that most recent 9M period, profit is actually up 32, about 33%, right? Now, if you move and you look into the most recent quarter, so that's now Q3 ended March 2024, you're seeing that profits actually up 300%. Now, that increase in profitability is due to Q3 the prior year was negatively impacted by that one-off thing. So what happened is that they had an audit that was done by TAJ, and they settled that, and that amounted to about 1.4, almost 1.5 million US dollars. So it's like a one-off loss, one-off expense that they worked through that. So now when you look into the new year, that's great, right? Now that the most recent quarter, if you compare it to the one before that, so you're going back now to March 2022, the profit in the most recent quarter is lower, like slightly lower. But if you look on it in a pre-tax context, and if you also look on it in terms of, like gross profit and all that, it's better. It's probably the best Q3 for the company history. And those metrics is just that the profit's slightly lower mainly because of higher effective tax rate, right? But overall, it's a great quarter, right? Now, I really want to show this here. Now, when you look on the company's performance in terms of the share performance, right, the stock price performance, what you're seeing is that in 2022, I really wish I could have put this up on the screen. That would be, it shows,
Do you want to try it again?
yeah, man, hold on. The thing is, the screen that I'm sharing, uh, sorry, sorry
Yeah.
about,
So while you look for that, I'm going to take some more comments. So let's see what the people are saying right now. Christopher says the big news for me this week is the fact that Select F has finally turned a profit after 4 years. Don't sleep on this stock. Strong Link wanted to know if we were talking about electronic books earlier. No, Strong Link, physical books is what that person was selling.
all right.
You got it up now?
Yeah, man, I'm good now.
All right, go ahead, share.
All right. All right. So when you look on 2020, so you see, all right, so what this chart is showing, so just in case anyone's not aware, it's showing the performance of CPJ's stock in every month and also for the entire year, right? So that's what this table is showing. So it's showing going back all the way to 2012, right? Now, in 2020, the stock was down 50%.
Put
Now,
your cursor. Can you put your cursor
oh,
to the part that you're referring to?
yeah, come on, let me zoom this.
2020, it was down 20%.
Yeah, so right here was down 50% in 2020.
50. Okay, for the year,
50% for the year, right? Most of that is because of the last year, which is in March 2020, of about 46%.
which is when the
Right?
pandemic hit.
Yeah, I wrote yes. So they got a big beat up, and that year was not the best year for them. So they're down 50%. Now, the reason why I wanted to show this, this is one of the examples when it comes to stocks here in terms of showing that volatility. But also, and a lesson, of course, that I always talk about, and the investment committee also talks about a lot about diversification and managing your risk, because
Right.
this 50% decline, that would bring a lot of pain, especially if you too concentrated in the stock or have a heavy exposure. That being said, on the flip side, you also see why stocks as a part of a balanced portfolio can be a good idea, because the subsequent year you had a 405% increase. So it's right back to back, right? Now, of course, and you can see there was months with some big gains. This month in February, 28%, October, 67%, and then in December, 35%, right? And then, of course, the whole year you're looking at a 405% increase. Now, that is one of the examples as to why I'd say, for most persons, of course, each person would have to talk to their advisor and get a better idea what fits them, why you'd want stocks. So this is an example of what stocks can do for you. Both an example of why you want to be careful and why you want to still consider having stocks in your portfolio in back-to-back years, right? So that's what I just kind of wanted to highlight there as a prime example of the risk and reward of stock ownership. All right. So if this is another way of looking at the same thing here on this chart, so what we're looking at is at a time series, looking at the movement of CPJ over time. So you can see that this stock was highs was going back in early 2022. This was over $20 a share, and right now it's at around $8.52 a share as at closing. So that's a big side down, but you can see it's a big run up from the trough that we're seeing here in about
Hmm.
2020, right? So you see that big run up, and then of course you're seeing this move down on that.
Wow.
And then now we're moving.
What caused that big run up 2022?
Yeah, so this move is kind of in line with the recovery of the profit. So remember earlier I showed the oh, actually I didn't show it because it
Oh,
was showed up on the
they
screen.
were the number one performing stock that year, weren't they?
Yeah, they were one of the top performers. Actually, I didn't show this side because of the technical difficulties, but we're back now. So
Okay.
if you zoom in here, so this it kind of lines up with the performance of the stock. Now, bear in mind their year end is June. So when you say FYE 2022 here, that's reflecting June 2022, right? So what you're seeing is that they're coming from a loss in 2021, in 2020, and of course in 2022 they returned to a big profit. So when you look on that chart now that I showed at the end here, um, when you look out here, then what you're seeing is it kind of lines up. So the company wasn't doing so hot; it was making losses because of COVID. There are some other little issues that work through that, and then you see the return in profitability, and you see the return, the movement in the stock price. Now, part of the reason why I like to see that is that if you're an investor, sometimes it doesn't work out because there's a lot of factors that can impact stock prices, right? But what this one shows is that if you're an investor and you're looking out long term and you say, all right, COVID hit them, because remember they have a lot of exposure to the hotel sector.
Hmm.
Um, COVID hit them. All right, is this gonna last? My expectation is it isn't, and you have your reasons why, right? You buying it at these levels when it was around $2 and so would have been a brilliant. Even now at 8, you're still well in the money. And I mean, if you even took some profits as it was going up here, you'd be very well in the money. But that insight would have would a lot of it would have just been driven by the fact that they're going through a low point now and they're likely to recover. And then of course it paid off and you see the performance in the stock price. So this isn't one of those stock price movements that some stock price moves are very difficult to predict. 'Cause there's a lot of speculation and those are very difficult and it's almost akin to gambling, right? But with this one, a lot of the movement is fundamental based in terms of the reason why you're seeing this movement in the stock is due to them coming from a very low trough and then coming to a really high because in 2022 that was a record profit for them. So
Hmm.
they're coming from some of the lowest points in their history to some record numbers in the span of like 2 3 financial years, and the stock price kind of followed suit, right?
And
So
I
it's not.
remember when they achieved those numbers, we had them on the show and they were telling us about, all that they were doing. They had the new
Yeah.
location in Drax Hall. They're in Montego Bay now. Tourism has recovered
Covered.
tremendously and is
Yeah.
still on a growth trajectory. And they
Mhm.
supply a lot of the hotels. So a lot of opportunity for CPJ.
Yeah, so they did very well there. And then you look now, more let's zoom in a bit now, looking at year-to-date performance. So the stock is down 2.5%, and the main market is down about 2%. No surprise there. We know the story. Interest rates high as it is right now in this climate. Stocks are gonna take a beating. As in like they've been for a while now, and of course, because of the high interest rate environment, this asset class in general will struggle. And of course, CPG at this point is no exception. So early in the year, they were doing well. So if you look early in the year, around this point, they were doing fairly well, up over 20% in the year, cooled off. Earnings came out. That's the most recent earnings came out here. Stock reacted positively, but basically gave up most of those gains. Again, in line with the overall market. So it kind of rolled over a bit there. And then now when you look on the activity in the stock, that has completely plummeted. So there's not a lot of interest because when you look again 2022, 2021, especially in 2022 when the stock was performing, you can see that the volume is there. As the stock started to kind of meander, you know, investors kind of lose interest, but the volume trails off. So there's some level of correlation between the stock price movement in terms of higher and in terms of interest. So when you get that interest in the stock and you have a lot of person trading it, talking about it, that's when you get that volume. So it's like 3.5 million on an average day would trade in terms of the amount of money that would trade on the stock. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's still relatively illiquid if you compare it to the more liquid names like your NCBs, your GKs. But for CPJ though, that was a good year. Recently, not so good on the volume side. Now, if you just look at the PE ratio of the stock, right now we're seeing a PE around 8 times. If you look going back to 2022, or the beginning of 2022, this is relatively low in terms of the price to earnings ratio, which gives an indication that basically investor sentiment or investors not really paying much attention to it, because on a price to earnings ratio, price to earnings, using that to measure, as a measure of value here, we're seeing that it's trading at some of the lowest points that it's traded in a while, indicating that investors right now not that interested, but it indicates that there might be a valuable opportunity here that could be looked at. And of course, the PB ratio is showing a similar thing where it's trading relatively lower than its 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year averages. So again, an indication that there might be some value to have here for investors. Yeah, so that's basically it for the presentation. So overall, what we're seeing, recovery in the stock price, recovery in the profitability of the company. We're seeing where the stock price isn't really reflecting all of that. And of course, we know the overall dynamic in the market, which is something that would weigh down on CPG, just like most stocks on the market. You have a couple of stocks, breaking the trend, and outperforming significantly, but right now CPG isn't one of those. But as I always say, and of course the history bears it out, any given year might not be that hot, but if you stay to it, you look at the company in the long run, in the long term, you know, and the company's performing, eventually the stock price will get up, will catch up once, the earnings are there, the cash flow is there. Yeah. So that's basically it.
So is this a stock that you're bullish on?
So as it is right now, based on what they've been doing, you're looking at the gross profit margin expansion and all of that. It is something that is looking good. Valuation wise, that's not bad either. That being said, as you can see, both with the liquidity, both with the liquidity in the stock one, and also with the volatility that you can see in the stock price, it is not for everyone. So that's why I keep stressing that you have to contact a financial advisor, because
Right.
if I'm for argument's sake, close to retirement, and I want a company that's constantly paying dividends. I think they haven't paid in a little while. Constantly paying dividends. I want a company that the stock price relatively stable and all of that. This might not be the name for you. So that's the reason why I keep saying that. But if you look on it overall, though, so I'm talking about the cash flows that are generating, I'm talking about improvements that seen in the balance sheet, debt to equity ratio that's going lower. All of those metrics are pointing to something good here. Gross profit margins up. all of that pointing to something good here. And of course, all the plans that they have in terms of expansions and all that they're doing. That's well, the tourism industry is also helping them too. So there's a lot that's going on right for them, but it's not necessary for everyone. Just
All
keep that.
right. I have a few comments on CPJ. Javon says CPJ may not be a dividend payer right now, but it has great potential. Certainly one to buy and hold, in his opinion.
Yeah.
Roswell said CPJ for me is a good stock to buy. I remember where it was trading a few years back. Yeah, we
Yeah.
saw that chart.
Yeah.
Roswell. And Natoya says, based on where the price is, do you believe it will go higher? If yes, buy and build a sizable position. Aim to own over 50,000 units in any company you buy. Once you buy at a good price, you should see good gains. So we have a few perspectives there on your
Yeah, that seemed
presentation.
bullish on it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it every single time. And we'll
Welcome.
look out to see. Oh, somebody had a comment. Let me share this comment. Shell said the promotion came with new video setup to new chair, new mic, new headset.
Well, I had the chair before technically. Yeah, but no, no, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Nothing misses this crowd, you know.
Apparently.
Nothing misses this crowd. All right. Thanks
All right.
again. Much appreciated. We'll
All
take
right.
our final break and we come back with more of your comments.
This segment of Taking Stock, The Analysts, was brought to you by JMMB Group, your best interest at heart.
What do the world's richest people all have in common? I'll give you the top 5 from the Forbes Rich List, and let's see if you can figure it out. Number 1 is Bernard Arnault, founder of LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy. Number 2, Elon Musk, co-founder of Tesla and SpaceX. 3 is Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon. 4, Larry Ellison, co-founder of tech giant Oracle. And number 5 is Warren Buffett, founder of Berkshire Hathaway. So it should be pretty obvious, right? They all founded or co-founded major companies. They're all entrepreneurs. Jeff Bezos famously founded Amazon out of his garage in 1994. Elon Musk has co-founded 6 companies, including Tesla. Warren Buffett is perhaps the world's most famous investor, but he also founded the investment firm Berkshire Hathaway. So without a doubt, entrepreneurship is one of the major keys to wealth creation. For the world's richest man, Bernard Arnault, this also means generational wealth. All 5 of his children work at LVMH. Now, if this is what you envision for yourself, your first step is simply to get started. Bring that business idea to reality with Business Startup Basics. In this Money Mission webinar, corporate attorney and business accelerator Chantal Simpson tells you everything you need to know to set up your business legally. Now, you already missed the live, but the replay is now available. The link is in the description. Let's get this money. All right, welcome back. Time for final comments. Oren wanted to know what I think about the Omni IPO. He says, I think it's still open. I haven't heard otherwise. It opened on Friday. I have not heard about it being closed. Looking at Omni, it is one of those kind of unsexy products that just bring in a lot of money, right? Doing pipes and crates and thermoplastics. It's not something that you immediately think of, like, you know, the growth industries right now, the AIs and the tech and stuff. But it is an industry that is growing in terms of the construction industry. And so when you look at stuff like this, as they look at the sector that it is in, and Omni is in a booming industry right now. Jamaica is poised for growth, and we are beginning to see, I feel like we're in the beginning days of that growth, and I'll tell you why. Look at where our debt to GDP is now. It is at like 70-something%. 10 years ago, we were at 150% debt to GDP, meaning we owed more money than we made in a year as a country. 150% means 1.5 times what you make. So imagine you as an employee earn, let's say, $10,000 a year, just to make the number easier. Say 100,000 US dollars a year. It would mean that you owe 150,000. That's your debt to GDP personally. That's where Jamaica was 10 years ago. Our debt to GDP is now down to 70%, 70-something%. 60% is considered the sustainable range. And the issue with our debt being so high 10 years ago is that half of our income, basically probably more than half, I don't remember the exact numbers offhand right now, was going directly towards paying debt. And then the rest of it was going towards paying wages. So there was nothing left over for infrastructure development, for roads and schools and hospitals and that sort of thing. And now we are starting to see that there is what they call fiscal space. There is room because our budget, the money that we earn, is not so consumed by paying debt anymore. We still have debt payments, but they're not as high as they were 10 years ago. And so now there is room to do other things. Now there is room to do the things that we should have been doing 20, 30 years ago in the 90s and the early 2000s and the 2010s, when we didn't have any space because everything that we earned went right back out into debt. And so now that we're becoming more comfortable in our fiscal space, there is money to do things like build St. Thomas Highway and build Mandeville Highway and build new buildings. Which hospital is it they're going to fix next? KPH. I saw it in the news recently that they're planning to build a whole new Kingston Public Hospital. Montego Bay, that's been taking a while. But there's so many infrastructure projects in the works. And if you listen to Nigel Clarke's budget presentation this year, he said that over the next 5 years, they have $1 billion, I think it's US dollars too, in projects. $1 billion worth of projects going on around the island within 5 years. And that's a lot of work to go around. That's a lot of money to go around. And a lot of that is construction work. And so when you're looking at companies to invest in, coming back to your question about the Omni IPO, look at the industries, look at the overall economy. What is poised for growth in the next 5 to 10 years? Jamaica is poised for growth. Infrastructure, manufacturing, not just manufacturing, but the construction industry is poised for a boom. I think within 10 years, this country is going to look a lot different than it looks now. And we've already begun seeing that. So I say all of that to say, I think Omni is a good buy right now. I am not a licensed financial advisor. Consult your licensed financial advisor before making any investment decisions and to see if it might be good for you. So that's all I have to say about Omni. Look at the investing environment. Here's another tip for you. Last night, I did an interview with Dan Theok from Mayberry. As you know, Mayberry has a bond out that's paying as high as 10.5%. They've been advertising it heavily, but Dan gave us some really good information during that interview. So after you finish watching this, make sure you check that out because Dan is predicting that within 2 to 3 months, the central bank is going to drop interest rates. And once the central bank drops interest rates, there is going to be renewed interest in the stock market. And he is predicting that next year, 2025, is going to be the best year for the Jamaica Stock Exchange in history. And that's considering that the Jamaica Stock Exchange has already had 2 massively historic years in the past 10 years, 2015 being the #1 stock exchange in the world, and 2018 again being the #1 stock exchange in the world. And now he's predicting 2025. I don't know if it's going to be the #1 in the world, but he believes that it's going to be the JSE's best year ever, coming after 2023, which was depressed. 2024, we're seeing a little bit more interest than 2023. Still not looking great yet, but watch the full interview that I did with Dan Theok from Mayberry, and you'll start to understand why he is saying these things. He's predicting at least 10 IPOs for next year, We'll see what happens. We'll see how that materializes. But if you're serious about investing, that is something that you absolutely need to pay attention to. Because if that prediction materializes, and remember, Dan is a guy who does this kind of thing for a living, day in, day out. They're the experts over there at Mayberry. But if that materializes, then you want to be in your position today. You want to start taking your investment positions today. Because if you wait until next year, you're going to miss the opportunity. And let me tell you, no, most people are going to wait until next year. When they start seeing the prices rebound, when they start seeing the stock prices going up, that's when they're going to jump on the train. But you need to jump on the train before it goes up, which is now, when it's down, when it's cheap, so that when everybody is buying you at high prices, you're in a position to sell and reap your rewards, right? What does Warren Buffett say? Be greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy. When everybody jumps on that gravy train, that's when you make your profits. The good investors are the ones who are able to see the opportunities, who are able to follow the trends, and who are able to anticipate the next move. So if you are seeing what's happening now and anticipating what is going to happen next year, that means you need to take your positions now. So go watch that Mayberry interview with Dan. All right. Ryan says, what is this thing? I see everyone talking about JMMB overcharging them on transaction fees for years. So I saw this on Twitter, and there were some people asking me to chime in and to clarify what was going on. So I don't have the inside scoop. I only know what I saw on Twitter, but apparently there was an error with the charges for GCT that was being overcharged on the transaction fees. JMMB, from what I've seen, has acknowledged the error, has apologized to its customers for the error, has sent an email admitting that they're wrong and apologizing to their customers for that error. And not only that, they've refunded the full amount in its entirety for the past, I think it's 4 years worth of error. And so for some people, that refund is a pretty big check. It's a pretty big amount for some people. And so as far as I'm aware, that is the situation with JMMB. Okay, what else do we have? Nanosense, by the way, my sinuses, oh, it's been a terrible couple of weeks. So if I sound out of breath, that's the reason. Nanosense says, RN interest rates, when interest rates start going down, investors will come back to the market. That's exactly what we're talking about. So the connection here, what is the whole connection between the interest rates and the stock market? So when interest rates are high, there is a lot of interest in things like bonds and government paper, treasury bills, because you can get an easy 10%, 12%. The Mayberry bond right now is paying 10.5%, and which is higher than inflation. Inflation gone down. It's now 5.3%, I believe. So if you can make an easy 10% by investing in a bond or buying government paper, why should you take the risk on the stock market? And for the people with big money, 10% is a lot. Because 10% of $1 million is $100,000 easy without taking any risk. If you have $1 million under your mattress and you put it in a 10% bond that pays 10% interest, you're getting $100,000 a year easy for doing nothing. So why take the risk investing in stocks if you can get high interest rates over here? But now that interest rates appear to be heading down, that could all change. Now, it hasn't headed down yet. The Bank of Jamaica has still held those interest rates high. They're at about 7% for the BOJ. But there is a call for the BOJ to start bringing interest rates back down because inflation is now coming back down. And I'm going to be releasing a couple of videos in the next few days explaining how all of this works. We had Keith Duncan on Taking Stock last week, calling for interest rates to come down. We had Chris Zaka I interviewed him last week as well, also calling for interest rates to come down. We had Dan Theok from Mayberry last night on that special feature here on the platform, saying that he believes the BOJ will be compelled to reduce interest rates in the very short term. And so once that happens and the interest rates start going down, then you're going to start seeing things like the bonds and the government paper not being as attractive to investors. And so those people will start looking for another place to put their money. And when interest rates come down, equities tend to do a lot better. So people will start looking towards the stock market. And so that's why Dan is predicting that 2025 will be a great year for the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Ryan says the regulators have a lot of work to do to regain the confidence of people in the diaspora with all that's happening now. We have Devon congratulating Leo for a good review. And then Strong Link saying the local market is crazy. Market values of some companies soon fall way below book values. Ridiculously low PEs too. All right, let me see what else we have. 4 mil for 12 months is almost 400K. Easy money. It's like cash and Christmas combined. Exactly my point. Namki says that's 100K minus 25% withholding tax and personal income tax, commissions, redemption fees, opportunity costs. How much do we have left? So watch the Mayberry interview. He actually made the point that there's no withholding tax on this particular bond. Personal income tax may be different because I think it depends on how much you actually make from the investment. That will determine the rate of income tax that you pay. Yes, the Shell says it here, Mayberry bond is tax-free. There is no 25% tax. Exactly. All right, there are a few other comments as well. I don't have time to go through all of them. Shell said, I got the email and refund. I didn't even know. Well, there you go, Shells. All right. So thanks for joining us yet another week. We appreciate your presence. Thank you for tuning in to Taking Stock as you do and participating as much as you do in the comments. This show is as much about you as it is about me or about the guests or about the topics, because you guys make it so lively. Thanks again to Matthew Clarke, Director of Devon House Ice Cream, and our analyst, Leovani Dillon, Corporate Manager, Group Client Portfolio and Investment Strategies. Big title over at JMMB. Thanks for joining us, guys. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, share with a friend, because investing is the new sexy. So let's make it cool to talk about money. I'm Kalilah Reynolds. See you next week.
Let's get this money.